Okay, welcome back. So let's go ahead and do something a little bit more advanced. Basically, we will use a service or platform called Browserless, which allows us to do really cool things like automated scraping and searching of pages or converting things to PDFs or taking screenshots. So really useful for tons of different purposes. But we're going to specifically focus on building a part of our data ingestion process. So this is essentially anything like when you go to ChatGPT and you ask, get me the latest information on so-and-so. And as of recent, now they essentially allow you to, it just automatically triggers the Bing search. It does a real-time search, gathers the relevant results, and then the LLM can base its decisions based on the latest data available, and thus avoid the whole hallucination stuff that was quite common with ChatGPT specifically earlier this year when it was just getting started. So what we're going to go ahead and do is essentially build a small kind of ingestion script or a scraping script that will simply visit a website, and we will do a couple of these websites, but the initial one that I'll show you how I constructed it is going to be for the Associated Press news website, which is quite popular. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's just probably one of the most known sites, so everything is available there. So what we're gonna do is build a script and then put it into an API call, and actually then be able to call that endpoint and grab all of the latest headlines that are available on AP News at that time, and then also the URLs of those specific stories. So this way then, if we want to provide our agents with this knowledge, we can. Does it rather quickly. It will return a JSON object that you will see. Okay, let's get into it and see how far we can get. So this is going to be a bit of a more of an advanced lesson. So if you're feeling like not tackling these specific tasks or this type of functionality is just not necessary for you right now, feel free to skip this. But if you do want to know how to do this, then let's get right into it. Okay, so on the left, what here is essentially a self-hosted instance of Browserless. And what Browserless is, it's a headless scraper, but essentially it's a multifunctional, very capable piece of software. So you can grab things like content from pages, convert things into PDF, do screencasts and screenshots, simple scrape operations, and a couple of other things. So in this specific example, we will be working with the scraping API. And what we're doing here, again, is really not, this isn't any kind of sophisticated scraping or maybe like more something like an e-commerce operation. No, we just want to do a very basic automated look at whatever websites that are relevant to us. So we'll do AP News and Reuters and Product Hunt afterwards. However many different other news blogs that you want to do, this process will be quite similar and applicable. Okay, so what we're looking at here is essentially the documentation, which gives us the basic instructions on how to put together this scraping process. There are many different scraping solutions on the market, but they are also quite complex, and this one just happens to be one of the most accessible solutions, I would say. So I really like it. We have the basic curl request. So what we will do is when we go back into our debugger / tester view. Here you see the actual script. Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly take a look at this script specifically. Let me just make things bigger. Okay, so this is quite a simple script. It's essentially a web scraping tool right here built for us in only about 16 or 17 lines of code. So if you have been wondering about what scraping is, how it really works, and maybe if it's like super difficult, sure, it can be. And there are processes happening behind this script, of course, but this script is it right here. You can essentially run an entire mini app or mini agent GPT that just grabs all of the news and does whatever website that you want to do it for. So first we have the navigation let's back up here for a second. First we're exporting an asynchronous function, and here we're able to then navigate and specify that we want to visit this specific website. So this is our target. Oops. Make sure it's correct. So whatever value that you set here, that's what it's going to, the scraper will go to. So change that to whatever website you're going to want to do, and then quite easily you're able to do. Then we're going to inject this JavaScript function, and this is what's going to build and iterate our list of results. And then we're going to extract specifically the H3 element using this document query selector. So if you read, and if you go down, let's go up. Yeah. So the documentation talks about that they use document.query selector all to retrieve all matches on a page, and using a more specific selector can narrow down the return results. So if you're completely non-technical and this sounds like gibberish, just stay with me, and perhaps we'll be able to distill all this stuff quite easily and actually get it. And if you're very technical or somewhere in between, then you should be feeling right at home with this, because these are standard curl requests. This is basically the core of Node.js and TS, and Python is very similar with we have Axios and Fetch and all these different sort of libraries and ways to call things, but at the end of the day, it's just a simple post. And if you don't know what that is yet, post request, we're just creating an item. We're sending something to the destination that we specify. So in this case, we're using so these are different things. AP News here is going as the destination for the website, but when we're creating the curl request that we will be using in a second here in Postman, and then subsequently in Bubble, that has a different URL here. So as you could see here, it's calling core URL chrome.browserless.io/scrape, and then we have a parameter called token, and then we're actually just passing our API key directly in. Okay, now that we get what this script is doing, we come down to this next const, and here we're declaring the results. We want these H3 elements to be mapped, and then we have the title that we're specifying with this selector, and we're trimming it, and the href link. This is what we want. So we just want to know what's happening in the world in the exact title that the journalists put it in, and then how quickly, or a clean way to see all the links that we can also visit them quickly, or one of the agents that we built or you build can visit it. So We identify what we want, and here's an important part, actually. So this document.querySelector all is looking for this second dynamic value. So we've talked about the first dynamic value. Here is the second dynamic value. So in order to obtain these values, here's how we do that. And this is the really cool, almost hacky part here. So again, if you're non-technical or new to the scene, hang in there. This will be fun by one day, I promise. This is obvious and easy, right? You have a website, you want your agents to be visiting it or those websites and grabbing the latest info so that the people, your users, when they're talking to them, are updated. And we hopefully never run into that stale information or that my information is cut off before X date or whatnot. So no matter which model you're going to be using, whether it's Claude or Cohere or OpenAI or something from Hugging Face or Replicate, that's all going to always have this sort of small issue of it needs to have access to updated data. So whether it gets it real time and searches the web and then gives it to the model, or if it does something like this where it grabs the data and then puts it into an organized JSON and gives us, maybe you save it to the database and it gives us more options. Okay, so to finish out our explanation here, then we want to return a JSON object that is stringified, and we're pointing to the results. We're not filtering anything, so we're just grabbing everything that it returns. And then we also want to parse the items. Okay, so this is our core function. And let's look at something interesting now. So what we will do is actually reverse engineer a little bit of how I was able to take this JS code and actually turn it into the proper API call, because it was not obvious at first. I had to get a couple of tries. And I'll show you a way. Perhaps you've already also been doing it as well, but maybe I can help you improve it a bit. But I used ChatGPT extensively to make sure that we get the right body into the API format, because as you can see, this is obviously just a raw JS function, right? You can't just run that in an API interface. But what we want to be able to do is have an API call that we can just hit anytime from any platform, whether you're in code or you're no code, whether you're in a API, just anywhere. So what I did was, let's take a look here